And recommendations came that such programs should be organized for the resident commissioners, at least 2 programs every year. One on general sensitization program, and which talks about integrating DRR, COP21, and SDG. The second important is the coordination of disaster response and disaster institutional system. So the orientation program on this, and get together, informal get together was also suggested so that they can get to know that who are the actual player on disaster risk reduction, so that at the time of disaster they can very well coordinate with them and get the things done. Last, the very important but not the least, the risk and resource mapping databases and GIS. These were the organizations who controls the data in the country. So the 13 major organizations of the government, plus we had this civil society groups, private sector also, who are engaged in the data management. So the key points came, the key points from this particular session came is the parameters and the risk precursors and vulnerability attributes should be taken very clearly. Data and big data generated, so how that data would be cloud computing and big data can be managed in terms of, and engagement of research institutions, universities and colleges are very significant. And in this particular workshop, we engaged with the university, Jawaharlal Nehru University was a partner, and also that NIC and ISRO and NRSA was, they also were co-partnered with this program. High density average quality data matrix may be employed in specific disaster aspects, and institutional consortium on disaster data should also be thought of, because 17 different agencies controls the data, so how that data can actually be utilized. So that consortium can be managed, which they were mentioning that earlier the Planning Commission used to play this role, but now Niti Aayog is not looking into this. So I don't know, a certain mechanism has to be drafted. But we have also linked post-NPDRR activities, which I'm not showing, but this, in almost all the 7 activities, it came universally that all requires innovation. So how we are going to provide innovative solution, cost-effective, local and indigenous. So mixture of the advanced and the traditional both. But we before we go for the national platform recommendations, we always keep remembering, because this came much before any Sendai framework or any Yokohama or any other agency. This was the concern raised by our Mahatma Gandhi ji. So I would request all of you to see the spirit, and we design our ongoing programs. Thank you very much. Thank you, Chair.
Esteemed participants, as you must have made out by now, that these pre-events have a loud message. That is, as a nation state, we are now more confident than ever before. And we are also ready to look beyond the horizon. The developing countries, especially in the Asia and Asia Pacific region, are looking at India's progress with great curiosity and also expectations. I'm sure this event will strengthen our synergies for creating a dearer cult in the society, which other countries can perhaps emulate. So time demands from us, not only in terms of maintaining the momentum that has already been generated, but also to scaling of new heights every passing day. We must work hand in hand for making India resilient at the earliest, much earlier than 2030 envisioned in the Sustainable Development Goal Resolution of UN. These are few words from my side. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Malik. I think it was an impressive range of pre-events. If one were to classify them in different categories, there were one set of events which were focused very on specific hazards. So you had something on heat wave, something on drought, and in some ways directed at directly meeting some of the targets enshrined in Sendai framework. in heat wave. Heat wave is one of those examples where I believe that we can actually show tangible reduction in mortality within the Sendai period. It is one extreme, and the reducing mortality from earthquakes and other geophysical hazards is the other extreme. So that was one category of events. Then we had some events which were more sort of focused on themes, heritage, school safety, and so on. And the third was which were more sort of enabling, good database, better understanding of risk, which will basically underpin all our work towards the implementation of Sendai framework. So the challenge is that, it's the easy part is to organize a pre-event. The challenge is to keep the momentum and take the entire work to its logical conclusion and deliver tangible results for the society. So I think with this, I would like to now open the floor for some comments. We are very fortunate, yes, give me 1 second. We're very fortunate that most of the co-organizers, not just NIDM and NDMA, but most of the co-organizers of these events are also there in the hall today. So the burden of answering difficult questions is not just with NDMA and NIDM, but with many of you, and I can see some smiling faces there. So Dr. Bhaduri, please. Can you get her the mic, please? Can you get her a mic? No, I can't hear you. Can you get her the mic, please? Udhar.
Somebody else is making a comment? Okay. I'm Dr. Puranik, worked in Army Medical Corps for 31 years. I'm Professor of Surgery and Acute Care at AIIMS Jodhpur. I have a few comments and few inputs and few things to criticize. Am I audible?
Very much.
What we have learned from the past, that's very important. Are we auditing that? This can be given as a research topic to all your university graduates and postgraduates. Like what happens, like 9/11 happened, and was America ready? If such kind of things happen to our country, are we ready for the famine, epidemics, the bombings, the terrorism? There's so many things are interwoven together, mass migration, as you said, drought. This all things are interwoven. So are we ready for that? That really needs to be blueprint needs to be made. We need to make our roads safe. We need to make our industry safe. We need to make our schools safe. We need to make our buildings safe. And our town planners has
Can you please keep it brief?
What I mean to say is that, do we have the blueprint for this kind of thing?
Okay, I think further questions, I would request you to keep them focused on the pre-events and ask the topics that you raised. We will have 2 days to address the questions and issues you raised.
I'm Sanjukta Bhaduri, professor in School of Planning and Architecture, Delhi. My point is that with urbanization, city after cities are becoming more vulnerable. And therefore, and the master plan document, which is a legal document supposed to guide the future development of cities, are not based on vulnerability, are not based on these assessments. So somewhere mainstreaming these, the assessments, the risk, all these factors have to come into in the master plan, not as a separate document like disaster risk reduction plan. So my point was that the master plans have to include or do a microzonation or vulnerability assessments for each city, because each city is unique, and therefore work out their own plans based on the assessments.
Thank you.
Sir.
Gentleman at the back, purple shirt.
I'm Dr. Sanjeev Kumar, an assistant professor of cardiothoracic surgery and trauma emergency at AIIMS Patna. So during the training or mock drills, we often find the senior staffs, particularly in the government hospitals and employees, are complacent and reluctant to get training. They say we are senior enough, we are doing all these things for long, so they do not participate enthusiastically. So what should we do to motivate them, or we should, for the first responder training, we should make a cutoff mark for age, so that beyond that age, we should not train the persons, or it is sometimes futile exercise.
Thank you. There is some, we'll take you first. Here. Can you give him a mic?
Me,
Sir, on your
Subhash Chandra
right side.
Behera.
Sir, thank you very much, sir.
1 second.
I am Satyanarayana, DG Fire Services, Andhra Pradesh, sir. In our state, fire services department is the first responder for all the disasters, sir. As a first responder to the disasters, it is a need to strengthen our hands, sir. Giving a uniform kind of training for all our fire station manpower, as well as providing basic tools to handle all the disasters. Right now, we are not very confident to handle any disasters like cyclones or floods, which may take place, sir. Once in 2 years, the disasters like cyclones are affecting Andhra Pradesh. So I request you, sir, at least to provide all kind of basic tools or equipments necessary to handle these things, sir. Thank you very much.
Sir, on your right side.
I am Subhash Chandra Behera, President, Jilla Parishad, Ganjam of Odisha State. Sir, I am representing the district which is highly vulnerable to the cyclones and super cyclones. The question is regarding the use of technology and the innovation of technology part. After any occurrence of the cyclones, the worst hit sector is the electricity. What can be the latest technology we can use to restore the electricity transmission in short while? After the cyclones, it takes months to restore the electricity facilities.
We will take 2 more questions before
Sir,
we give the panelists.
right side, sir.
Give me 1 second. Chhattisgarh.
I'm Principal Secretary Revenue Chhattisgarh. I had an observation come request. The pre-events must have gone a long way in sensitizing people to the importance of disaster risk reduction. And they're mostly conducted in New Delhi and other metros. Could we think of having similar workshops, national level, in other state capitals? Because I'm sure that will go a long way in actually sensitizing the stakeholders at the state.
Thank you very much. Finally, 1 question on pre-events or comment. Yes.
Sir, I'm Rahul Jain, District Magistrate in Rewa, Madhya Pradesh. Sir, you have mentioned about the retrofitting in the school building, and since disaster occurs across all the buildings and all the departments are involved, in the field level we feel this problem of availability of funding or the resources for the retrofitting. We are still in the construction phase of many schools, hospital. So if we can have some ceiling on the or some cap on the total cost of the building to be spent on the disaster management point of view, like earthquake resilience building. So I feel that will help us in the field during the construction of new buildings as well. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. We will take 1 question from Nagaland and then ask the panelists to respond. We'll come back to you in the next round.
Yes.
Johnny.
Thank you. I'm Mr. Johnny. I'm from Nagaland. I have been also working with the disaster
maybe since the beginning of Disaster Management Act 2005, during the tsunami days onwards. I have a question. I think the pre-event, when we really look at it, because it's all evolving process, but I think one pre-event could be included with regard to logical resource allocations. We need to specify, call all the financial institutions or the ministries and say that these are the doable things. And how can we include in your plan, well, allocating the resources? That's one. I think that in the next year pre-event, I think financial logical allocations workshops should be conducted one. And then another one is, well, we are planning and taking care of talking about this high-level thing. If we do not have the resources to implement, to take forward this, it's not going to be quite possible. Therefore, I think in our recommendations, if we can also put in that mitigation fund has to be included, and that is a wing given to us to fly on disaster management issues. Without any mitigation plan or fund, many plans we may have many workshops, trainings, but we will not be able to take forward on ground. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now I will invite Professor Santosh to address as many questions as he wishes to.
Thank you, Chair. I would start with Nagaland. In fact, you have mentioned about this financial institution and the logical support in terms of logistic also, and also the financial resources availability for taking this program forward. Collectively, at the national level, NDMA, NIDM, and Ministry of Home Affairs has just not stopped the activities with the pre-event alone. So there are many lined up activities also which will go up as a kind of a post activities. Like when the framework would be ready, the action plan would be ready here, and a way forward would be there, then many steps to be taken forward. So those are the things which we have not been able to absorb or cover in the pre-event that can be taken in the post-event. The second important point in terms of that schemes which you said, the mitigation fund, that I would reply in two ways. That we, in terms of DRR, when we are talking about in the time of a mitigation fund also, but we also talk about flexi fund, and we also talk about the embedded schemes. When we talk about in terms of understanding risk, and also that risk in terms of what are the factors which are leading to those risks. So if we are talking about school building is not safe, hospital is not safe, even the housing is not safe, it is happening because we have ignored those principal methods or building bylaws, and that has created those risks. Now, if that risk has to be treated, then either it should be treated by embedded schemes. So you are having 10 more schools lined up to come, that make sure that is not going to be a kind of a risk generating kind of a schools. The school must stop somewhere, that the same goes to every infrastructure. So that can be taken care of by the embedded schemes in the development planning. Some is the targeted, which you said that mitigation fund. Like NCRMP project is a targeted mitigation project, where risks were identified and also many mechanisms were also identified to address. So either it's a construction of shelter, or building local capacity, or the training, and so on and so forth. So both will go together. The idea of mainstreaming, that is why we are talking about that it should not get confined to the post-disaster activities per se, but it's go with the development planning. And development planning, if we are making 100 hospitals, 100 schools, it should go accordingly. And last one, in terms of that state capital, you mentioned about that it should be organized. Definitely, like NIDM is organizing in different states many programs, but dedicated thematic program workshops we would like to include, and so we are greatly accept that the suggestions which you have given for this. Thank you.
For that question regarding training reluctancy of senior medical officers, as I have already presented in my presentation, that the structural and financial safety of hospital is very much essential to minimize the critical loss of life and to the healthcare infrastructure. So, NDMA in the past has issued guidelines on hospital safety. Based on these guidelines, the hospital disaster preparedness plans needs to be prepared, and the efficacy of those plans can be tested through regular capacity building and through mock exercises. Then only we can prevent our public health infrastructure risk, and these trainings are very much essential because, as presented by Dr. Thiru in the morning, that we have to start from the bottom, and capacity building is the basic soul for any activity. Thank you.
Thank you very much. There were many more questions of more general nature. Some of them, I think the point that was made from Odisha about making electricity connections, electricity transmission lines resilient to disasters. The point that Dr. Sanjukta Bhaduri made about making cities and master planning more disaster resilient, as well as urban infrastructure. So all of these things will be discussed in the next 2 days. Some of the pre-events, such as the one on disaster resilient infrastructure, touched upon these things. The whole issue of, what do you do, how do you go beyond assessment of schools to actually retrofitting them, how do you finance them, those were discussed in the 2 school safety events organized, one by NIDM, one by NDMA. So a lot has happened in these events, and that dialogue has to be carried forward. We will have opportunity to go a little bit more in depth into these issues over the next 2 days. I think we have just run out of time. We should conclude the session here. Thank you very much for your cooperation. It was a very good session. My co-chair has declined to comment. So thank you very much. See you after lunch at 2:30.
Please wait. Thank you so much, Shri Kamal Kishore. And I request Dr. Rajinder Walia, NIDM, to felicitate the guests on the dais. Dr. Rajinder Walia, Shri Bipin Malik. Shri Bipin Malik. Kamal Kishore ji. Shri Pawan Kumar Singh. Professor Santosh Kumar. Thank you so much. आप सभी भोजन पर सादर आमंत्रित हैं. I request you all to kindly join us for lunch. We shall resume the post-lunch session at 2:30 p.m. Thank you so much. धन्यवाद. Namaskar.